Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here for the DailySheeple.com's Daily News Brief. I want to get started with a CBS News article that just came out today with regards to insane John McCain. Yes, I call him that because, and I don't know how this guy ends up getting elected time and time over again. You know, they say that normally these incumbents that spend 30 years in office, they tend to, once they're elected, they stay in there because people have this feeling that they have so much pull in Washington. And maybe that's the case in some regards, but I can't imagine that being the case so much with John McCain, because this guy is just, he lost his marbles 10 years ago. The fact that he was able to run for president when he did just showed his mental state, if you ask me. The guy's just bots. And 10 years later, no good. Anyway, CBS News has an article. John McCain doesn't know what to make of Trump's Russian hacking response. He doesn't know what to make of it. I think it's pretty cut and dry. But anyway, it says responding to intelligence officials report that Russia tried to influence the U.S. presidential election in favor of President-elect Donald Trump, Senate Armed Service Committee Chairman John McCain on Sunday said he doesn't know what to make of Mr. Trump's dismissal of the issue. Here's his quote from CBS's Face the Nation. I don't know what to make of it because it's clear the Russians interfered. Let me stop there. How is it that they interfered? Just out of curiosity. Okay, they've got Russia Today, which has a desk or a location in Washington, D.C. They are a media organization that is funded by the Russian government. But they're a media organization. Now, is it or is it not in Russia's best interest to put out news that's anti-propaganda or against the narrative that the mainstream media is putting out there? Because that's obviously not news. That's not news at all. What is that? That's propaganda. That's what they're trying to spread. So what are the Russians doing? They're simply doing what the media is supposed to be doing in the first place, which is report the news. Now, I'm not saying that they're not perfect, because they're certainly not. No one is. But I'll tell you this, I find more credible news coming out of Russia Today than I do out of CBS. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that's just how I feel based on having to monitor all these news outlets as part of this job. So, I mean, and believe me, I'm not biased. If CBS is putting out good news, I'm going with it. That's great. Problem is they don't. And even worse, they don't even try to hide it anymore. CBS, NBC, Fox News, it doesn't matter who it is. They don't try to hide it. He goes on to say, whether they intended to interfere to the degree that they were trying to elect a certain candidate, I think that's a subject of investigation. But facts are stubborn things. They did hack into this campaign. They didn't hack into anything. People utilized RT and other sources as information outlets because the other outlets out there were, let's just say this, if it wasn't for the mainstream media and it wasn't for the Democratic National Committee, let's take Trump out of the equation, we would have a President Sanders today. We wouldn't have a President Clinton. We would have a President Sanders. I think if Sanders went up against Trump, we would have a President Sanders today. And I think if anybody has a right to be pissed off about anything, it would be Bernie Sanders. Think of Bernie Sanders as you will. Have your own opinions about him. I have my own opinions about him. I certainly wouldn't want a socialist in the Oval Office, but I can tell you that if anybody has a right to be pissed right now, it's Bernie Sanders. Trump has the Russian influence on the election is so down on the list of reasons why this election was just complete and utter BS like every other election. The fact is that if the DNC didn't screw around and they allowed things to go organically like it's supposed to, you would have had Bernie Sanders get nominated, and I think he would have trounced Trump. Again, regardless what you feel about Trump or Sanders or Clinton, doesn't matter. I'm just stating the obvious. But the DNC scuttled their own campaign in favor of a corrupt, pay-for-play, outdated, just, call it what you will, just crap. Clinton's garbage. And that's what you get. You put garbage up, and that's what you're going to get. Nobody's going to vote for it. And look at the county maps. It was crazy. So, unbelievable. Liberty Blitzkrieg, Mike Krieger. The mainstream media now, because of people like John McCain and Hillary Clinton saying, oh, I lost the election because of fake news. Well, now the mainstream media, of course, is asking for a government bailout, only they're not asking for money. They're asking for it via censorship. And that's what's going on. So this is Mike Krieger. It says the current controversy is different. Many people in Washington are irate over WikiLeaks, not because the email was untrue or the emails were untrue, but because they proved what many have long suspected, that Washington is a highly corrupt place full of truly despicable people. For people who make their living on controlling media and information, it was akin to the barbarians breaching the wall of Rome. So the answer is to call for government regulation to combat what will be declared fake news or propaganda. It's only the latest effort to convince people to surrender their rights and actually embrace censorship. And again, if they go down this road, then they have to define what fake news is. And if they define what fake news is, then you're going to come to find out that they would have to kibosh all media and maybe go with a state-run media organization a la North Korea. Because that would be the only way that you could get honest news, right? Is if the government came in and controlled it all and protected you. It's complete and total garbage. And Mike is totally right. That's exactly what they're asking to do. Now that they've been exposed, and the government too, has been exposed for what they are and for what they're doing. And it's stuff that independent media personalities like myself and countless others have pointed out for years. Look, this is the way it works. And this isn't something new, folks. This isn't something new. J.P. Morgan went and bought 20 of the top newspapers back in the day. He hired the editors and he controlled the sources of the news. So all your little papers would feed off the big papers, of course, your main outlets like your New York Times, right? He would buy up all the most influential ones, the ones that are putting the news out, and then he would control the entire media and information flow. This was back in 1917. This has been going on for a long time. This is certainly not something new. But they're trying like hell to ensure that they control the information stream to keep you as dumb as humanly possible. And I say dumb not because of a lack of intelligence, but because how are you supposed to make clear, informed decisions and form educated opinions about things when the information that you're going off of is complete and total crap? You can't do it. You can't do it. So these asshats in Washington and in the mainstream media they're pulling out all the stops. And if they can't do it and can't control you simply by feeding you fake news and baloney, then they're going to enact regulation to do it. However, we the people, you remember, are the boss. And so we need to provide the accountability to ensure that this doesn't happen. And we can do that. We have the technology. And there are companies out there that are now taking advantage of this, or even entrepreneurs. Yahoo News is reporting, promising no censorship, social network Gab draws the, quote, alt-right. There's that alt-right narrative that's being pushed by the media now. It says, squeezed out of Twitter and other social media websites cracking down on hate speech, far-right activists are finding a home on a new platform that promises never to censor content, which is something that should not happen anyway. But we see that it happens all the time. Launched in August, Gab has become known as a safe haven for the alt-right movement dominated by the white supremacists who are helping fuel America's deepening polarization. Right. Yeah, it has nothing to do with George Soros, right? It has nothing to do with prop or not. It has nothing to do with these mega rich people that are fueling America's divide. It has nothing to do with the narratives that are being spewed by the mainstream media that are complete and totally false. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with white supremacy. Again, you're looking right now at fake news. I am showing you a fake news story. They are intentionally misleading people to form uneducated and or uninformed opinions. And you're talking millions of people that are affected by this. So Gab, the social network, currently has 100,000 members and another 200,000 on its waiting list. According to Sanduja, he says all are welcome to speak freely. Gab is unable to accommodate all those who want to join right now, he adds, but because they're still in the test phase. And of course, it will go and it's going to get popular, and hopefully that they're able to accommodate the influx of people, because you have to understand their infrastructure has to be able to support it. And then I'm sure they'll get an offer they can't refuse and they'll sell out. But until then, I hope for sure that Gab provides an outlet, and other social media outlets do, because we need something that is not censored. Kind of like how Facebook was when it started. When everybody on your friends list, you put something out, they all saw it. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Oh, well, we can't have the free transmission of thought and opinion across the internet. You know, social media, again, the definition has nothing to do with news. Look it up, Merriam-Webster. In other news, Rex Tillerson is expected to be named Trump's Secretary of State. This is kind of bizarre. You wouldn't expect the CEO of ExxonMobil to be the next Secretary of State. But again, this is what I'm talking about not draining the swamp. Who is Trump surrounding himself with? He's surrounding himself with mega rich CEOs, Wall Street types. Why? Because this is a businessman. All right? This isn't a statesman. Now you're getting the corporate mindset, the corporate intellect, everything out there that people fight against, the corporation, right? How many people out there that were so gung-ho and ready to go for Trump prior to Trump being elected were all about, oh, well, the United States is a corporation, the Act of 1871, and all this kind of stuff. But you guys went for Trump because he was the answer. No, all Trump does is embrace the corporation. That's who he is. Again, you don't become a multi-billionaire by being Mr. Nice Guy and being a statesman and looking out for the common man. No, you run it like a cutthroat CEO. Again, there's some advantages to that? Absolutely. Will these people probably be able to negotiate and play hardball against other countries? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. But this country doesn't need CEOs and politicians anymore. They've destroyed this country. We've lost our identity. What we need are statesmen, men and women of honor, integrity, people you can trust. Rex Tillerson ExxonMobil. Need I say more? Ugh, it's crazy. Even Claire McCaskill of Missouri, she says it, she's a Democratic senator. Trump's cabinet's full of Goldman Sachs generals and gazillionaires. Yeah, absolutely. Then she goes on to say Russian hacking is a form of war. Yeah, okay. What's the United States hacking then? How about us meddling in other countries' affairs? How is that not a form of war? Or is it because you think because we have all this power or because it's our responsibility to look out for the best interest of everybody in the world because we know it's best for everyone? Then it's okay. If the United States does it, it's okay. If the government does it to you, Joe Main Street, it's okay. But if you go and do it to the government, if you speak out against the government, if other countries push back against the United States, it's an act of war. That can't happen. It's unbelievable. I mean, this is getting ridiculous, folks. Absolutely ridiculous. These people are idiots. Okay? And I have faith out there, men and women of America, that we're not. We're not idiots. We're intelligent human beings. And between our two ears, we have an exceptional quantum computer brain that is capable of doing some great things. All we got to do is put it to work. That's it. Just put it to work. And if we can do that, we can crash this monstrosity, Mordor on the Potomac, and take our country back. But again, it requires constant vigilance and action on the part of the people who are the boss of the people in Mordor. And again, we can do this. The Free Beacon, the Washington Free Beacon, just put out an article that I thought, again, the road to hell is paved by good intentions. They give you a sob story to push the need for legislation that takes away your rights in the name of safety. This is one of those ways. Bill would allow government to locate people with tracking devices. As if they don't do it already. Now let's just dot the I's and cross the T's. Measure intended to protect people with disabilities who have wandered away. That's how it starts. Yet this is what it's for. It's for grandma, grandpa with Alzheimer's. It's for kids with autism that just rove free. So we'll just put a tracking device on them. No problem. It's for you. It's for your own safety. It's for the safety. It's for the children. That's what it's for. This is a bill meant to help those with developmental disabilities, would allow government agencies to locate people with tracking devices, which have some concerned the measure gives the federal government too much authority and power. Everybody should be concerned about that because if a parent wants their child to be tracked, then parent, go put a tracking device on them. What's stopping you? They sell them. You can get a pendant. You can get a bracelet. You can get all that kind of stuff. The parent can put it on there, and if Johnny walks away, then mom or dad can track him down. What do you need the government agency to issue tracking devices for? You don't. You don't. Representative Chris Smith from New Jersey, who chairs the Congressional Autism Caucus and the Alzheimer's Disease Task Force, introduced a bill called Kevin and Avante's Law. There we go again with the nice appeal to emotion title, otherwise known as HR 4919, in an attempt to prevent these types of accidents from happening. Because again, mom or dad, concerned parent, couldn't put a tracking device on them if they needed to. It's unbelievable. This is propaganda, folks. This is how it works, and this is how people cede their rights. Instead of embracing personal responsibility, they instead go with the easy way, which is we'll just let the government handle it because they know what they're doing and I don't want to have to worry about it. Meanwhile, the Activist Post put out an interesting article, and I'll end with this because tracking devices, they become a part of our lives, whether you know it or not. If you've got a webcam, if you haven't seen the movie Snowden yet, I would highly suggest everybody watch it. If you haven't seen it, rent it, go to the movies, do whatever you want. Get your hands on that movie and watch it. You know, I didn't know about Snowden to the extent of, first of all, how brilliant the man is until I saw that movie and understood, wow, you know, this guy was highly sought after because of just how brilliant he is. And he goes over some of the ways that the technology that he developed for what he thought were good intentions were being used for something totally different. He had no idea until after the fact. And there was a lot of people within the CIA and NSA that were pissed about this. But they couldn't say anything because if they did, their families would be threatened. They would be threatened. Their well-being would be. I mean, what a cutthroat existence. Again, watch that movie if you can. But anyway, this watchdog discovered that toy dolls are recording your conversations and uploading them to police. Now, we've known about this for a long time. We've seen public schools who issue computers to their students using the webcams to peer in at their lives at home. Activist Post saying, when giving gifts this holiday season, be strongly advised that certain toys will upload your children's unique voice and personality information to the same military and law enforcement databases which help authorities identify criminals. Yeah, you got to check this out. But apparently there's watchdog groups that are sounding alarm bells in a complaint filed to the Federal Trade Commission. If you're not using your webcam, tape over it. Understand that if your cell phone is on or off or your computer's off, that these clandestine organizations, Homeland Security, police can turn it back on without the power being onto your computer. They have the technology to do this. They can listen in through LED light bulbs now. This is how bad it's gotten. You have to be aware of it. And folks, we have to fight back. There is nothing out there that dangerous that warrants this type of surveillance. It just doesn't. We need to take that power back. I'll have more on this in the days and weeks ahead. But be vigilant, folks. And God forbid, don't sit on your hands now that we have a president-elect Trump. We need to be more vigilant now than ever before. I'm Joe Joseph. This was the Daily Sheeple's Daily News Brief, and I'll have one again for you tomorrow. Have a great night.